the gallery, Lansing Art Gallery and Education Center. I'm Michelle Carlson, the Executive Director. I'm so happy to see so many new faces here tonight. It's really exciting for us. But since you're new, I'm going to make some assumptions that you may not have been here before or haven't at least been in our new space. We haven't been here very long, but we're a nonprofit organization. We've been around over 60 years in the community. Our mission is to promote and educate about the visual arts and support Michigan artists through those endeavors. So that's what we're here tonight to do. So we're gonna meet our exhibiting artist, Brian. He's also gonna teach us a little bit about his process, which is gonna be a demo, which is really exciting. And then after that, you can go upstairs and enjoy an art project and try it out yourself. We have refreshments up there. In addition to this opening, next week we have another artist talk on the Art Path, which is along the River Trail. It's on Thursday with Jill Dombrowski at Site 7. So if you like learning about the artists, I encourage you to go there next Thursday at 6. We also have some art making workshops coming up. You can find the dates and times on our website, but 2 of our teaching artists are here in the house. So if you're really interested in that, you can go find Dorothy or Jane. Jane is serving the beverages. She is really fun. Her classes are awesome. I've taken 1 or 2, so I don't think you'd be disappointed. We have a couple board members here too. Brian and Amy is up there. So thanks for coming. We rely on the community support to do things like this and our education pieces and having public art. So if you like what you see and you'd like to support us with a generous donation, our hearts would be full. There's QR codes around that you can scan, or you can do it online too. So otherwise, please come to other events. And I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let Katrina Daniels, our exhibitions director, come, and she's going to lead the conversation with our artist, Brian, and I think you'll all be surprised and enjoy the talk. So thank you for coming again. If you have questions, please come and see me afterwards. I'm happy to meet you and chat with you. Katrina?
Sure. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. I have a few questions for Brian to kind of talk a little bit about process and inspiration, and then we'll leave time for everyone to ask questions as well. So it's my pleasure to introduce Brian Snyder.
Thank you, Katrina, and to the Lansing Art Gallery. Very excited to be here. This is a great opportunity, something I hoped would happen a couple years ago, and I reached out to Katrina during an artist call for an opportunity to have an exhibit here, and unfortunately I didn't get in, but it was kind of a motivator to keep working, and she emailed me, I think about a month ago, and asked me would I be interested in still having a show here, and I was like, of course I would. And so it was really, just a dream to be here, and I'm just very excited for all the people that are here. And I told myself I wouldn't cry. But, all the hard work and just the opportunity to share my story, it's just wonderful. So thank you. All right, enough crying. Let's get to talking.
I think a lot of people here are know you personally, Brian, and are big fans, but could you take a few minutes to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background?
Yes, I'm originally from Albion, Michigan. I grew up, I went to Spring Arbor University. I see you in the house. I got a couple of my teammates, actually 3 of my teammates from college came. They brought their sons, and so I'm just thrilled to see these guys here. My brother came. My cousin, my girlfriend, just a great opportunity to be here. But just a little bit about myself. I grew up in Albion, like I said. I grew up just a boy of dreams. I wanted to be a basketball player. My dream was to play in the NBA. These guys know that. Unfortunately, it never happened. I wasn't tall enough or good enough, but my dream continued. My brother and I used to do art all the time when we were kids. He's an artist as well. I ended up going to the military. I spent some time in the Marines. If there are any Marines in here, Semper Fi. Following my opportunity in the Marines, I ended up going to Europe. After graduating from Spring Arbor, I played basketball in Salzburg, Austria, where I was exposed to this style of art, which is influenced by Aboriginal art from Australia. And so I saw a traveling show. It just caught my eye. I used to be a graphic designer, but I was more into painting when I went to Europe. And so I had an opportunity to start painting, and I played basketball 5 years in Europe and was just constantly involved in the art world. I had a chance to create, exhibit, and sell work in Europe. And I came back. I've been a basketball coach in college now for 22 years. I coach at Olivet University, now the University of Olivet, which has changed their name. And so basketball and art are my two passions. And, you know, I'm just blessed to have the opportunity to be here and, you know, show my work.
Thank you, Brian. Well, I mean, it's truly our pleasure to have your work here. It's incredible. So the title of the show is The Journey Continues, American Aboriginal Art. I know you touched on this a little bit, but could you expand a little bit more on why you chose that title?
Yeah, well, the journey began about 31 years ago when I was in Salzburg, and again, I was influenced by this Aboriginal art display that was traveling through, and I just kind of started my own style. It probably took me about a year before I was comfortable with applying the dots and laying down the paints, and so it's just a culmination of years of work. A lot of these paintings over here, the bigger ones, were done probably 20 years ago with Mr. Whitfield here. We had a show together at the Creole Gallery, and so a lot of the work you see here is work that I've done over the years. I've changed my style somewhat. I still use the trademark dots, but I've kind of in the last year influenced by Georgia O'Keeffe, which was, I went to Chicago and saw a great exhibit from hers, and just kind of gained a lot of inspiration from her. But these are the original designs that I've been working on for many, many years. And so it's just been the journey continues, and it will continue.
I love it. So it's a little bit of like a retrospective then.
Yes, pretty much.
So your work is incredibly detailed with the use of pointillism. Do you use a specific tool to create this work?
Yes, I actually brought some things. I used to use Q-tips, but as you can see, they get all over you and they make a mess. And so I currently use like the tip of an old paintbrush for most of the dots. I also use like the tip of an ink pen for the smaller dots. And then this brush here, if you look at some of the paintings, there's a line quality that I use. And this is my own creation. I didn't invent it. I was taught by an artist when I was in France. He taught me how to, an Aboriginal artist I met, and he gave me a eucalyptus twig that had human hair that was tied with tied with string. And so over the years I've lost it, but I did remember how he made it, and so I used this is a coffee stirrer with duct tape and human hair. So just being innovative and being able to continue the design quality, and so those are the main tools that I use in terms of that. And so the paint that I use is basically acrylic. This is enamel acrylic, so it kind of gives it like a mosaic feel once it's dry. It gives it like a shine. And so definitely when it dries, it gives it a nice texture as well.
And can you share a little bit more about your process? And I'm thinking specifically for these larger works. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, because what we're seeing, of course, is raw canvas. It's not stretched. Right. And so is this hung? Is it on the floor? How do you create something, especially something this large scale?
You gotta be a little crazy. This was done for Art Prize in 2014. This one was done in 2012. This process right here is just a piece of canvas, and it's about I believe 20 feet long. As you could see when we hung it, it was a piece of work to get up there. And basically I had to lay it out flat the entire time I worked on it. It took 10 months to create. And what I wanted to do was entitled puzzle piece. And so I drew out the basically the border, the shapes, and then I just painted. I painted all the different puzzle piece shapes. And I went ahead and put the dots on. And so it's just a style that, again, it's probably my most popular piece because it's also the biggest. But it has a lot of color and a lot of different images going on. And so, and then this one here was done in 2012 for Art Prize. And again, Mr. Whitfield helped me hang that one up. That was a little bit of work. Hey, LJ. And so that piece was, in fact, I'll take guess. Some of you already know how many dots are in it because I told you, but I counted every single dot that I put in there. Again, you had to be a little crazy to do that. And so this piece right here is called Fleur Jardin, which is flower garden in French. And so I had an opportunity when I spent time in France, they have so many beautiful flowers, and so I was inspired to do something with flowers. And so I take a lot of these shapes. These are little wooden shapes I get from Joann's or Michael's, and so I traced it and drew all the little flowers out. And as I went along, I counted all the dots. And so I offered an opportunity for someone to guess the amount of dots, and they would win a replica, an art prize. But unfortunately, I told some people, the person that won, they were really close. I couldn't read their email, and so I was able to kind of keep it for myself because I wasn't able to decipher. I tried to send it to them, but it came back. And so if you can, after you take a look at it, I'd like to see if someone can come close to guess how many dots there were. And so that was fun, but again, that one was done with metallic paint, so the texture is not there, and it's a little bit different color as well.
So Sarah and I both guessed, and we were just wildly wrong. So multiple times, yeah. So when you're creating something like this, I'm assuming you just had to live with this on the floor for 10 months. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, actually, it rolls up quite well. I have cardboard rolls, so it stores really easy. And so there was times when I would maybe just have half of it out, or but there were times it was on the entire floor, and it just took up every inch of my place. But it's really easy to store, and it rolls up and transport, so, yeah.
And then with that texture, I'm assuming it probably needs a little bit more dry time because you're adding a little bit thicker of paint, I think?
Actually, acrylic, if there are any artists in here, acrylic is a great medium because it dries really, really quickly. And most of the paintings, the smaller ones, I paint outside a lot. And so if you're sitting in the sun, they can dry really quickly. And the good thing about using acrylic, if you do make a mistake, it's like using an eraser. You can paint right over it and then just repair it. So there's 1,000 mistakes in there that you probably don't even notice because I was able to clean them up a little bit.
As I'm looking at your work, you were talking about starting your career or as a graphic designer, and I can see that in your work. Do you lay your designs out digitally, or are you sketching like directly on the canvas? How do you, when you're kind of thinking through a new design for your work, what does that look like?
I usually just start working right away. Like, for example, these right here, I might just take the canvas and lay the different shapes down and just kind of fit them out. And so I don't really put a lot of planning into it. The biggest thing is finding the colors that I want to use and the shapes. But as far as like planning, a lot of the planning goes on in my brain. And I just kind of get to work once I decide what colors I want to use.
It's a little more intuitive.
Yes.
Yeah, when Brian and I were talking about this show, and I was telling him that I came up with this idea for the installation when I was walking my dog, because that's when my mind sort of relaxes and then I start to think about, kind of start to problem solve a little bit. Can you tell us, are you drawn to a particular theme, or are there singular pieces that create inspiration?
Well, I love art. I love all types of art. I'm inspired by, obviously, Aboriginal art. If you're not familiar, this is what I was inspired by. There was a traveling Australian Aboriginal show, so I was just blown away. That was 31 years ago, and I kind of started my own take, my own spiel with that. But in terms of art, I love Impressionists. I mean, there's tons of art that I really like. I love going to museums and galleries and just seeing different things. So my inspiration comes from just creating from the heart and from my mind and my vision. And so I might be walking down the street and I see a shape that I like. I might take a picture of it and create it and use it in a painting later. So a lot of my inspiration just comes from observing different patterns and shapes around.
Sure. And you also spoke about you're spending time in Europe in your earlier years. And Europe is just, I mean, I think the age of just some of the cities there, you know, you get this incredible architecture. There's some amazing museums. Was that experience formative for you?
Oh my gosh, it was the best thing. Unfortunately, I have, like I said, 3 of my teammates, they went on our first trip to Europe. We went back, I was at Spring Arbor, and we did a cross-cultural trip. And I remember when I went over there, I was like, I'm coming back. I'm going to live here. And so I was just inspired by the architecture, the art. I was there for 5 years. I had an opportunity to play basketball. And so for me, it was the best of both worlds, being a basketball player as well as, you know, doing my artwork. But yeah, definitely living in Europe was probably, I think about it every single day. There's something that reminds me of, you know, the opportunity that I had, and hopefully I'll get back to visit again sometime.
Oh, that's great. So thinking about your experience as an athlete as well, and I mean your work, there's quite sort of physical. Do you think that that's helpful for you as being an athlete and creating work like this?
Yeah, most definitely. When it comes to, you know, the time required, I spent a lot of time playing basketball. I mean, all my life basically, and just the amount of discipline it takes, and just when you're tired, you know, there's so many times when I'm tired I don't feel like painting, but it's like you got to get it done.
Right.
And so I just believe the effort, you know, I don't compete against anyone but myself when I'm doing art. When I play basketball, I was competing against others, but this is you compete against yourself. It's kind of a mental grind at times when you're really tired, but you know, once you're done, you feel really good about it. And so, yeah, I think being an athlete really helped me when it came down to just, you know, you have to isolate yourself a lot when you practice and work out. And so I spent many years, you know, by myself, either working, playing basketball, traveling. But I definitely think being an athlete gave me an advantage in terms of just the level of competition and, you know, competing against myself more than anything.
Yeah, that completely makes sense to me. Just that like you said, mental discipline too of showing up and doing the work. And can you talk a little bit about how your practice has changed over time?
Well, I did a show, I think the last year I've been pretty much, I'm really busy right now. I'm working on my doctorate. So I haven't really had the opportunity to paint a lot. And so when you text or email me, it was kind of like, I'm ready. And so like I told Brian, my motto has always been, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so when you contacted me, I had, I don't know, probably 150 paintings that I could choose from. And so, you know, it's just a lot of time putting in. And so I just find, you know, with art or with anything you do, you just have to put the time in, the commitment. And so that was my drive and my goal is to, you know, continue to work around the clock. And even if there's not a show, like I have tons of paintings I did years and years ago that I thought they're not going to sell, and then eventually they do sell, or you just have them in your stock. And so when an opportunity comes, you're ready to go for it.
That's right. And congratulations on your doctorate.
Oh, thank you. 2 more years.
I don't know about everyone else, but I'm feeling a little like, man, I should be doing more.
It's something, you know, I didn't anticipate. It's another goal. I'm a goal-oriented person. This was my lifetime goal to get my doctorate, and it's going to be in kinesiology. And so I just spend so much time reading and studying and writing. It's just unbelievable.
It's amazing. Well, I'll just add another question or two, and then we can open up to the floor and see if anyone has any questions. I love this because I love, you know, we're an educational institution, and we are trying to create access to the arts. So what advice would you give to somebody who is interested in maybe they have been making but they haven't shown yet, or are a little bit nervous maybe to get themselves out there?
Well, you just got to believe in yourself, no matter what. I consider myself self-taught, along with my brother. We've been doing art all our lives, and I don't know, I just think I was just disciplined and, focused, and I really loved art. But I would encourage anyone who wants to be an artist to do it, and everybody has creative ability. It's just a matter of tapping into them and finding out what you like to do and looking at other art and just kind of exploring. But I would just encourage anybody, because I've taught kids how to do this style of art, and they actually were doing better work than I was. And so I was just, really excited to see that I can teach kids to do this. And so no matter what your passion is, whether it's sports or art or music, you just got to go after it and, you make it happen.
I love that. And what is a good place for people to learn more about you? Is that, of course we hope everyone, comes in here and tells more folks about it. Your show will be up until the end of August. Is it your Instagram? Do you have any other shows planned? What's a great place for people to follow you?
I'm currently on Instagram and Facebook. Those are my platforms. I don't really have a website. Fortunately, social media is kind of like, available to do that. I coach basketball at University of Olivet, so if you want to come out and watch a game, do that. I'm involved in a couple other art events this year. I'll be down at Art Piece in Old Town later in the summer, which is really a great event. And I also got accepted into Art Prize for 2023, so I'll be in Art Prize again. But I'm down in Old Town. You'll probably see me out all the time, and so normally, because I'm so busy with school right now, I don't have the time to be outside painting like I want to. But every now and then the weather hits you and you got to get out there. And Turner Park, where where it's at,
Yep.
just get after it. So.
All right. Well, does anyone else have any questions? I see George.
I'm just curious, the painting in the corner, the brown and orange, or whatever. Yeah, that is that based on an Aboriginal motif?
Basically, a lot of the Aboriginal stuff is in, if you look at, I've never been to Australia, although I want to go, but they usually use stuff like kangaroos and boomerangs and lizards and snakes, which I'm terrified of. So I don't know how I'd be able to go out in Australia in the outback and paint. But a lot of my designs are inspired simply by the dot technique, but overall I use a lot of geometric shapes and patterns, and so the colors definitely are Aboriginal. They use sort of like, the ochres and red oxides and yellow oxides, and so I'd say only the colors are inspired, yes.
Did we have a question over here? Yeah.
So when we were kids, you mentioned competition and all that stuff. I'm sure you remember all the vicious competition of getting red wire, garbage bag wire to create bicycles and little sculptures, cardboard to build stadiums. Our approach to art was our environment. Really weird. We grew up as a normal black family in the 60s in Michigan. I don't know what influence art snuck into our house, but motorsports, I love racing, all that kind of stuff. So when I see his work, I remember the split between our influences. He was all basketball all the time. I tried to keep up. He got me into skateboarding, and then one day, remember you hurt your wrist? That was it. And it was all left-hand jump shots from there, ambidextrous development. So it was great growing up with you, seeing how your work is really inspiring. You do way more than I do. Currently, my work is pen and ink on napkins stained with coffee. So, we all have our trips, but we work.
Brian, color is a large part of the impact of what you do. Talk about how you select color, and your palette's really amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. And a lot of times, like, for example, the painting behind Katrina or any other combination of 2 or 3 different colors, what I usually do is go to Joanne, Michael's, some of the art stores, and just look at the paints. Like, I would take colors and just kind of match them and see what I can do with them. And so I have a really love and passion for color and texture. And so a piece like this, it was just unbelievable how many colors I went through. And so I just like to match colors. And I think I learned that in art school, how, when I was younger, how to match colors and how to actually, you know, take different colors and combine them to get the color that you need. But these are straight out of the jar or out of the tube, and so there's not a lot of mixing, it's just more matching.
Selection.
Yes.
Oh, and we have another question.
Ladies first.
Okay.
So I really love the pieces, and even though this is called puzzle piece,
Yes, puzzle piece.
I see a lot of like African women in that piece when I look at it, and I feel like I'm gonna go home and slap my husband for not telling me how, like, I knew that you were an artist, but I didn't know how talented. So I'm married to his cousin Robin, but I didn't know how talented. So I feel like I'm gonna go home, and these are all like the colors we work with in our house when we put art up. And so, but that's what I see when I see that piece.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of different shapes. I've seen so many different ones over the years when I would look at them, so thank you.
Yes, I just want to make a comment, man. You know, we've been working all these years together, and you talk about your art, and Jennifer and I just came, it's amazing, man. And it's even amazing seeing you where you at right there. It's so powerful, man. You know, we love you, man.
Love you, brother.
And thank you. I'm excited, man. I'm just excited for you, and more to be revealed. I see it coming.
I appreciate it. Larry's a great friend. I mean, so many other great people here as well. And we've had the opportunity to go to Europe and the Virgin Islands to do some basketball work. And so he's seen, you know, some of the work that I've done, and we talk about just our passion and dreams. And just a great friend. I'm glad you guys could make it.
Well, on that note, I just want to thank Brian. We've, you know, the evening has just begun, so there's plenty of time to, you know, ask more questions, mingle around. If you haven't been upstairs, we have refreshments. We also have an art making activity if you're interested in trying your hand at it. It's also really fun to see the work from upstairs too, because the show is just like, we really took architecture into consideration with this installation. So I want to invite you also to check that out. The work is for sale. If you are interested in making a purchase, you can let myself or any of our staff wearing a name badge. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. And I apologize. Wrapping up a little quicker than I did give Brian a chance to do his demo. So maybe we can do that, and then we can, everybody can enjoy the evening.
Okay, I actually brought a small canvas. I get questions all the time. How do you do that? Are those beads? Are those, how do you get those down there? And so I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what I did. And so if you want to gather around, or if you can see right there, I'd love to show you kind of what I do. Again, these are acrylic paints, and I just grabbed some colors. I didn't really, So I just kind of grabbed some different colors, but what I normally do is just kind of draw the shapes out in the pattern, and so I've already had it kind of predetermined what I'm going to do. And so what I would do, I'm actually going to take this jacket off, because I don't want to get
That's fair.
So,
now you blend in with your painting.
yeah, this is all the mistakes right here. So basically I would start out by just filling the caps with paint. And so I usually just fill my caps and just kind of go along. And I painstakingly lay each dot out side by side. And again, these paints dry really quickly, so if I'm outdoors, this can be dry in probably 15, 20 minutes. And so what I would do is just kind of build off of each dot. and then I would go around and just eventually end up getting my pattern. And so this is kind of my paint smock. I like to clean it like this, and then so yeah. So this is many years of doing this, and then to build on the next color, I would just kind of same thing, just get really close. And after a while, I mean, I can watch TV, listen to music, talk without even really concentrating. I've done it for so many years. Like I said, 31 years. It's been quite a while to be able to do this. And so it's kind of automatic when I'm doing it. And then how I lay the lines down with this brush, I would actually, these lines would be already lined up. And so I just, again, put a little paint inside my cap. And I just drag the hairbrush through it like this, and so I would just kind of set it up and just drag it through. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm a little bit sloppy. So again, the good thing about using acrylic, if you make a mistake, you can really quickly cover it up. So this is sort of a cross stitch, a cross hatch that I'm doing right here. So I just get really tight lines. Oh, too tight. So I consider it really easy to do this, and I'd be glad to show. I think upstairs there's going to be a little demo that I would love to show you how to do this, but so that's kind of how I start to lay things out, and it's like that. So just a little bit to show you how I started out, and so thanks, man.